Everybody, welcome back to the Spurs 95.1 podcast. This is Ray in London with Cam in Florida. And we're just talking to you after such amazing, unbelievable, fantastic 4-0 win at Manchester City. I'm still in shock. I think Cam is still in shock as well. Cam, what's your feelings?
And you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, welcome everyone. Glad to be here and glad to be finally celebrating what I think has been a historic day for Spurs
I mean,
for a number of reasons.
yeah,
But go on.
we'll talk about that really in a minute. But I just want to understand, and I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong. I'm so happy with the win and I'm really happy, etc. But how can a team that can lose at home to Ipswich then go away and beat the champions of Europe, Champions League, everything, Premier League winners? How can they get them to go away and beat them 4-0? Their biggest loss, I think you said the biggest loss Pep Guardiola's ever had, 5 defeats in a row. They haven't lost at home for 52 games, whatever. And how can Tottenham go and beat them after what they did? Explain it if to our viewers what happened.
I mean, it's what everyone's been saying. It's the level of inconsistency, the inability to be consistent, to be able to run and an effective team. And I mean, it's not just the Ipswich game, was it? It's the Brighton game. It was the
Palace.
Newcastle game. It was the Palace game. And if you look at those and look at the games that we won, and I mean, I don't know, maybe Manchester, some Postecoglou, being a Liverpool fan, maybe he hates Manchester more than we know, and he's
Mm.
got this thing over them. But we did it to Man United. Now we've done it to City twice in a space of a few weeks, and I mean we may be doing it to Man United again in the Carabao Cup. Let's hope, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those anomalies, isn't it? Because I mean, we could all sit here and say Spurs need to be playing like this, and they should be winning all these games if we could play like this. I mean, we've got City at the right time because, like you've said, this is a historic loss for them. The last loss was a historic loss for them. 4 in a row for Pep. He'd never done that. 5 in a row is, okay. That's not. They've not lost that since Stuart Pearce was manager in 2002. And I think their fifth game that they lost was against Tottenham 2-1 as well. From
Yeah.
what
Yeah. Yeah.
and so we got them at the right time. We needed that boost, but it's not just that. It's not like we went up to City and we beat them 1-0 and they weren't, they were awful or whatever. I
Mm.
mean, this was a 4-0 drubbing,
Yeah.
and it was an all-round perfect performance. And
They
I'm
had
going to leave.
chances though, didn't they? The City did have chances, but let's not dampen it. This was a brilliant win for us. Now I just want to, because we got 19 points. If we'd have beaten Palace and we'd beaten what's his face, Ipswich, another 6 points, 25, we would have been like third or second.
Yeah.
Just shows you the fine margins, doesn't it?
Hmm. I think the
Okay,
thing.
so let's talk about the match now. Then let's talk
Yes.
about what you really liked about it. Did Ange change the system? Did he do something different? What happened today that we gave him an absolute drubbing? Tell me.
Okay, so my number one take on this is follows, right? One is this Ange has this view that I'm never going to change my tactics. I'm only going to play one way. It's going to be forward, 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 right? Well, that obviously has been proven wrong today because he totally changed his tactics. And I think that the reason why he changed his tactics because he was over reliant on Romero and Van der Ven and their speed, right?
Mm.
The fact that he had no confidence in Davis and Dragosan, so he gave them the backing and the support with the players falling back and giving them that extra support. Fullbacks actually playing like proper fullbacks most of the time and coming inwards and providing the extra support, and it transformed the team. And those two, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, why he wouldn't do that earlier? Because he thinks somehow those other two were geniuses. These guys today played better than Van der Ven and Romero have played all season, right? And they've
Uh,
done that better because we had a proper back four and we had proper support. I mean, Saar was incredible in front of those two. Even Basume, when they got booked in 15 seconds, bucked up,
But
and
but
stepped up.
let me just clarify this. And basically, I think Dragusin and Davis played really well, had a good get. So what you're saying is he allowed them to drop back another 10 yards, and then he
Yeah.
filled that space with Sarr and Basuma to protect them. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
that's what I'm saying. And it stifles City. And then I mean Vicario apparently has had a really bad run with Italy, really, really poor game. But I mean he was probably a blinder today.
Yeah, played
You
well.
know,
He
he
looks
had an
surprisingly confident in the box as well, coming out, catching
Yep,
stuff and all that.
they didn't look. He absolutely did, and I mean, if that's the Vicario that we're going to get going forward, I have zero complaints about that.
Mm,
I mean, to me, up until Madison's two beautiful goals, if the goals had been shared between all four players, I think Vicario could have been man of the match
mm,
in many
mm.
ways. Some of those saves he pulled off were incredible. There were
Yeah.
some really, really smart, good saves. They weren't just saves where he palmed the ball into someone else's path. He actually moved that ball out of the way. And we smothered them in the box. And this is the thing that we've never done to any other team. Teams have had so much time in our box to pass it, to move it, to get it to other players, and to just hammer us every time. I mean, Tottenham are known to obviously concede so many goals. So clearly, we can do it with the right tactics. We can do it. And we did it because we were so scared that Dragusin and Bet Davis are going to let in about 20 goals. They changed the system. The system change worked, and it needs to be instigated right through the ball. I think we've learned something today, and that is Ange's old system don't work.
And do you think
And
this is enough for him to continue to deploy this system, or will he revert back to the same when he gets Romero and
I
Van de
hope
Ven
not,
back?
because we didn't have the majority of the possession. I don't know what the possession stats were, but at halftime we were on 45, they were on 55. And I think that they had a lot more possession in the second half, right? That's in itself quite unique for Spurs, right? Didn't have a problem with that, not at all. The way we hit them on the break, we have always been a good team on the break. And the way it clearly suits Kulusevski's game, who had probably one of the best game of the
Yeah,
season that he's
yeah,
had so
great
far.
game. Yeah,
It clearly suits him getting the ball up there and being able to run and do it on the break rather than hover in front of the opposition's box and just pass it around like idiots for about 30 minutes, right? This is the game that suits them. It suits Madison. I mean, you can tell that. It definitely suits Son, and it definitely suits Werner. I mean, that break that he had at the end was just incredible. We
so
are got the kind of players that can run. I mean, look at how we ran. All right, it was towards the end of the game, but Werner ran
Kyle Walker.
Walker ragged. Walker was, I mean, as an ex-Tottenham player, it was a little bastard, I thought, because he was quite mean and nasty on the day, wasn't he?
Yeah, man. But so do you think that in terms of the players like, Werner and all these guys saw, I mean, they all had great games really. I mean, you can't fault anybody really in that team. I think they all put their weight. They had a really good game. Do you
Mhm.
think that, let me ask you a question. Is Kulusevski, who had an amazing game, I thought he was superb. Is he better out on the wing, or do you like him playing in a number 10 just behind the front two? Where do you
I think
prefer him?
wherever he was playing today, or how
On
he
the
was
wing.
playing
Yeah.
today, yeah,
Because he was on the right. I think Son was on the left and Solanke
yes,
down the middle, wasn't it?
yes. And David Solanke had a good game.
Yeah, I
He
thought he
didn't get
played
a
well. Even though he
goal.
didn't score, he played well.
He got an assist. And the point is that the being solid at the back gives confidence to all the players. Everyone knowing that they got the support. And Dragusin and Davis had a blinder of a game because they had the support. Saar, the way that he played today would get in most teams right
Mm.
now. He was a monster because he was finally being played in a position that he understood and that he was the best at. And he was providing that support to them, dropping in between the gaps wherever they were in the back and mopping up everything that came into the box effectively and very, very well. Much better than Basuma did. And it just transformed our game. We've never played like that before. We run up to the halfway line and then we rely on Van der Ven's pace to get him. And it puts too much pressure on the poor guy and he gets a bloody hamstring injury. And that's our game, right? And we changed it today. I don't know what made. I think that possibly Ange changed it today because I think if he hadn't and he'd got hammered today, it would have been pretty bad news for him.
Mm. Mm.
And it just shows by making those small tweaks to the team and playing to your strengths rather than the opposition or what your perceived strengths are, the difference that it can make. And a 4-0 is nothing to be sniffed at. And it was 4-0 because yeah, they had some great chances. I'm sorry, they had some great chances, but the way that we smothered them and the way that we gave our keeper confidence, he had a blinder of a game because every time he had the cover. For once, he was not exposed. When he was exposed, he stepped up.
I think Dragusin and Davis played well. Dragusin made some last ditch clearances. David plays really well. these guys can come in and settle it. Would you, when Romero and Van der Ven are fit, would you bring them straight in, or would you stick with these guys while they're doing well? What would you do?
I think that if you expose Dragosin and Davis and don't give them the cover like you got today,
Mm.
you're going to get hammered.
But
They
what
got
if you give
hammered
them the
again.
cover?
Huh? If they give him the cover, then you can bring those two in, and I think those two need the. Everyone needs that cover. There's no team on this place, right, that doesn't have that cover. Look at Rodri
Yeah,
that they did that celebration for. Why has this team been so bloody successful, right?
because
If
Rodri's
they've
there
had that
protecting him.
cover, they've had
Yeah.
him. They didn't have Kovacic today. They had neither of those two players, and they crumbled. But if they had played, it would have been a different game. The fact is,
Yeah.
Tottenham play with no cover. I don't know what we play him. Today was a completely different Tottenham team tactically that made a major difference to the performance. And look at the results. Can you believe it?
It's amazing. I'm still in shock. I'm having
Mm.
text messages from my friends saying, "What the hell's going on here?" I'm still in shock. Final thoughts then, Cam, of this, what do we got to do next week against Fulham to make sure we keep this momentum going?
Uh, Ads has got to learn. He's got to learn from what's happened today. He goes on about no inconsistency today because you played for once, the first time this season, to the
Mm,
players' strengths.
mm,
Every single player's strength
mm.
was used. They were all played in the right position. I mean, Porro was fantastic
Oh,
at the back,
fantastic
at
goal,
the
yeah.
front,
Great
everywhere
goal.
you go, because he played to his strengths. Now, if you change that and start playing to players' weaknesses and putting them in positions that they're not comfortable with and not providing your back four the comfort and expecting that we can always go win games by conceding first, then we're going nowhere. So let's hope this is a watershed moment and
Yep.
Ange learns from this, and we can get right up to wherever we want to be this season if we played like
Excellent.
this.
Excellent.
Having
All
said
right.
that, we'd be going on a five game losing run. This being Spurs.
Well, we'll see what happens next week against Fulham. But come on, you Spurs. And
Come
here's
on, you
to one of the
Spurs,
best
and got
performances
to
we've done
get.
in a long time. Thank you, Cam. We'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.